distinguished Senator Dino Melaye. Thank you so much for joining us in today's program, and thank you for inviting us to your home.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sir, the Senate President, he's been a very topical issue lately. First of all, he has the troubles in the Code of Conduct Tribunal for failed asset declaration. Now he's in the Federal High Court of Abuja, where he's been accused for alleged forgery of the Senate standing rules. What do you think is stopping Nigerians from mobilizing en masse in the streets to clamor and ask for his resignation?
Basically, that would have been very, very possible and motivating if there's actually a prosecution going on. What the Senate President is going through in the CCT, from my own myopic point of view, it's not prosecution but persecution. We all know that he's suffering because he had ambition to become the Senate President, and a man should not be punished for having ambition. Ambition is something every individual who wants to make progress in life should have. In fact, our president is a very ambitious president. That's why he contested for the presidency of this country 4 different times. So it's not a crime to be ambitious, and Bukola Saraki should not be punished for being ambitious. So the CCT trial, as far as I'm concerned, is a persecution, and the case is already falling like pack of cards under cross-examination. And I want to believe that it is because of the failure of the CCT ongoing trial that an orchestration was made for the forgery case in the High Court. The National Assembly is an independent arm of government, you know, and it has its own laws, rules, tenets, doctrines, ordinances to regulate our own proceedings. So it's a domestic case that ought to be tackled domestically. I mean, the National Assembly or the legislature should not become an appendage or a department of the executive. So even if there were cases of forgery or a case of forgery, we have enough internal mechanism to regulate our proceedings. And I want to say, therefore, as far as I'm concerned, as a legislator and a member of the 8th Senate, there is no case of forgery. Because when I came in as a senator, 2 days before my inauguration, I was invited for documentation on the 7th of June, 2015. And on the 7th of June, 2015, I was given a copy of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and a copy of the Senate rules. How the Senate rule was produced, I wouldn't know. But as a senator, I was given a copy of the Senate rule. But
the copy you were giving, the 7th Senate claims that they never altered, they never made amendments to the standing rules.
It does not matter whether the 7th Senate made amendments or not.
So how did the rules change?
I will explain this to you, that in 1999, when there was no Senate, when they resumed, they started operation with a rule. Who produced that rule? The bureaucracy. So once the 7th Senate ended on the 6th of June, so whatever happened between the 6th of June and the resumption of the 8th Senate, only the bureaucracy can take responsibility. No single senator can take responsibility, because as far as everyone is concerned, the 7th Senate winded up on the 6th of June. Okay. So whatever happened to the rules, to the Senate, to the National Assembly between 6th and 9th that the new senators were sworn in, only the bureaucracy will take responsibility. And let me tell you, only the bureaucracy registered us. The bureaucracy gave us a copy of the Constitution and a copy of the rules.
And the bureaucracy is made up of
during
Sorry,
registration.
Could you just clarify that? The bureaucracy is made up of who?
Of the National Assembly management.
Okay, and that is?
Headed by the clerk of the National Assembly.
Okay.
You have the clerk of the Senate, you have the clerk of the House of Reps, you have the clerk of all. And let me tell you, even if, as claimed, that the rule was tampered with, any senator who is aggrieved, there's provision in our rules for that senator to raise it on the floor of the Senate, an amendment then be carried out, if he has the majority, on any clause on our rules.
Definitely, and we understand that, but the miscommunication here is when exactly were these rules amended? In your standing rules, if you want to amend a standing rule, you have to go through a procedure.
Listen to me.
Distinguished Senator, just correct me.
I will have to educate you on that.
Okay.
Amendments takes place only on the floor of the Senate.
Okay. So
anything that happens to any book outside the floor of the Senate cannot be called an amendment.
So what was done since the rules were
And
changed from the 7th Senate to the 8th
every rule
Senate?
have a 4-year lifespan. Every rule have a 4-year lifespan. Every Senate comes, when you are resuming, you're given a copy of the rule. Then we have the leverage, we have the liberty to amend what we are given.
And as you said,
as
it has to be amended on the floor of the Senate.
It has to be amended on the floor.
So what happened? How did the rules change from the end of the 7th Senate
You cannot use the basis of the 7th Senate for the 8th Senate. Because we were given a document called the rules 2 clear days before our swearing in as Senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Understood. But those rules that you were giving are not the same as the rules from the 7th Senate.
They must not be. And the basis for why they must not be is because in 1999, when there were no senators, there were no House of Rep members, they resumed with the rule. Who wrote the rule?
Okay,
the bureaucracy wrote the rule.
Okay,
so
understandable.
It is not forgery for the bureaucracy to produce rules for a particular section of the National Assembly, either the lower or the upper house. There's no case of forgery.
But your standing rule clearly says that if you want to amend any rule, as you just said, it has to be done on the floor of the National Assembly.
Let me tell you, you cannot give carpentry job to a tailor. The 7th Senate ended, and the 8th Senate is a new Senate. It's a new Senate that can alter, amend, delete, erase any portion of the rules as designed by the bureaucracy.
That is a given
as designed
fact.
By the bureaucracy.
Okay, so
when we were given a copy of the rules on the 7th, clear 48 hours before our resumption by the bureaucracy, Bukola Saraki did not hand over a rule to me. Ekweremadu did not hand over a rule to me. The bureaucracy did. And it is in their powers to give us a rule at that time because we are senators elect.
But the standing
we were all, including Bukola Saraki, is senators elect. You cannot, the mistake you are making is that you see the 8th Assembly as a continuation of the 7th Assembly.
It is not a continuation. Exactly, and I agree with you.
It is not.
But your rules clearly say for a standing rule to be amended.
The rules that we adopted on the 10th of June, remember that for every proceedings on the floor of the Senate, there is also approval for the vote and proceedings the following day. So on the 10th, there was an hazard. The vote and proceedings of the 10th of June approved everything we did on the 9th, including the adoption of those rules. Because the rule was what applied on the 9th. And by the adoption of the vote and proceedings on the 10th, without one single senator raising an objection to the adoption of that vote and proceedings. The vote and proceedings is the hazard, the approval of whatever you did the day before or the legislative day before. So by the adoption of the vote and proceedings of the 10th of June, after the 9th of our swearing in, everything we did on the 9th was ratified by the adoption of that vote and proceedings.
Would you say that's due to the ignorance of your colleagues that the rules were amended from the 7th Senate to the 8th Senate?
I just told you now.
It's not a
The chairman of the Rules and Business of the 7th Senate said throughout their tenure, there was no amendment to that rule, to the Senate rules. So if there was any alteration on the rules, it must have been done while there was no Senate in sitting.
That's what I'm saying. So it's an established fact that the standing rules were amended between the 7th of June.
Amendment takes place. I just told you that amendment takes place.
Alteration. Is that what you said?
Let me tell you, like I told you, that the bureaucracy is responsible for giving us.
This is what we're saying. We're saying the same thing. The bureaucracy altered the rules between the 7th of June to the 9th of June. We've established that fact, right?
I have not established that fact. Because what they are calling now amendment is that the inclusion of the phrase that elections should be conducted by open secret ballots. And that insertion, obviously by the bureaucracy, because there was no Senate,
okay,
is not in contravention of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or the Electoral Act.